Welcome to Farm Charm Chic. I'm Emily. Today's video is all about 2023 spring and Easter DIYs. I hope that you guys enjoy these. These are some of my most favorite DIYs I've done so far this year, so I hope you enjoy them as well. If you guys like crafting, DIYs, dupes, hacks, thrift flips, or just creating in general, I would love if you would consider subscribing and becoming my crafting BFF. If you like any of today's projects, remember to hit that thumbs up. If one of your favorites made the list or you love one, I would love to know down in the comments as well. But let's get right into the DIYs. I absolutely love working with this tin, like faux tin tile that you get at Dollar Tree. I buy like several of them when I find them because they're so great to work with. And they come in lots of different colors, but I love that it's the white and silver now. I just printed this little bunny. This is just an image that I got off of Canva, and I just printed it off on some cardstock. I made it as big as I could go on just a regular cardstock, like 8x11 piece of paper. And now I'm just going to open up this little tin, faux tin. I keep calling it tin because in my mind it is, because that's what I want it to look like is real tin, but I know it's faux tin. Anyhow, I just traced this cute little bunny silhouette out, and then I'm just going to cut this out with some scissors. You guys, if you've never worked with this stuff, it is so fun and it is so easy. It cuts like butter. Like those scissors, I mean, it just goes right through it. It's a very thin plastic, but it just cuts really well. You can get all those little intricate details, and it's not like sharp really on the edges. I mean, always be careful, but it's not like a very heavy plastic that would be. So now I'm just going to cover our little bunny here in some white chalk paint. This would be so fun to customize it to whatever color you wanted to do. You can even use this technique for different seasons. So you have a different season you want to do a little cutout or something. I mean, it doesn't have to be limited to Easter. Now on the back, I'm just blasting it with a little bit of my heat gun and pressing it down. I'm just going to give it kind of a concave look. When I flip it over, you'll be able to see the edges are kind of rounded over to look like it really was like pressed tin. Now I'm using a little bit of brushed metallic silver here to kind of dry brush over those highlighted areas there. That just means I dip my brush in the silver, I wipe it off on a paper towel, and then just kind of lightly go over those raised areas. The reason I did that is so it would look like it was metal that was painted and then it was kind of worn off on those raised areas. Now I'm taking some burnt umber. You can use antiquing wax, you can use any kind of dark brown paint, and I'm just going around the edges with my stencil brush, and as I kind of dry brush that, or not dry brush it, but distress the edges with that, I'll rub it with my finger to kind of blend it in to make it look like it's rusted and it's just very aged. And I go over kind of lightly over the whole bunny with whatever's left in my brush. Now this picture I got at Hobby Lobby during one of their 75% off sales. This is from spring of last year. You guys always check those clearance sections at Hobby Lobby, JoAnns, Michael's, like Home Goods and TJ Maxx, and just look for different surfaces you can use for crafts because you can get the best deals. Now I covered it with some elephant chalk paint, and then to add some variation I used a really light lime green color, and then I'm also using, this is Agave by Waverly's chalk paint, so it's kind of a tealy type color, and just very lightly I'm going over those areas on that chalk paint where the elephant chalk paint dries. It kind of adds a little texture. This just makes it look almost chalkboardy, I guess, but I just love the variation that adds a little bit more detail to it. So now I'm just taking some tumbling tower blocks. I'm going to place these all over this cute little bunny here. This is so when I place him on our surface, it's going to give him that really 3D look there. So I just use hot glue to do all of this, and then I just set him down, kind of center him while the glue is hot there. I can kind of manipulate him a little bit, make sure he's on there really good. And I have this cute little bow tie that I add on to him, and look at how absolutely darling this looks. I love the really neutral feel to this. I think this has such a darling look, and really this could be all springtime and Easter. What do you guys think of him? I just think he turned out so cute. This is a true trash to treasure DIY, but I love how it turns out. So I have this can left over for my dinner the other night, and I rinsed it out really good, obviously washed it with soap and water and everything, and I'm just removing the base of the can. And if there was any sharp edges, you're just going to use a fingernail file to make sure that nobody hurts himself on this. And I'm going to make this to be a little like hanging basket. Well, you'll see what I do with it here. You probably already know, but anyway, I'm just using a rubber mallet here to kind of pound this into shape. And honestly, I didn't have to pound it that hard. and it really was easy to manipulate here once that like the base and the top were gone out of it. But I just wanted to make sure that that base there was closed off really well and I had a very flat surface to work with. But I think this turns out so cute, so I'm so excited to show this to you. Now this is a crocodile. It is a tool that cuts and puts grommets in, so that's what I'm doing here. So I pinched a hole or cut a hole in each side, and then I put the little grommet tool on, and then you just press it on there. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it other than you can kind of see what I did there, but it finishes it off so much. It gives it a really nice crisp look, and that way you don't have any sharp edges or anything like that from like the cut metal. Now this is just some elephant chalk paint that I go all over, and now I am taking some burnt umber. I'm just trying to make this look very aged. I want it to look like it's been sitting out, forgotten about for years, something like that. I love coming up with ways to do faux rust. Cinnamon is a way that you guys always suggest. I have yet to try that technique, but what I take now is some Merlot, I think was the color that on this one, and it's just a really deep maroon and just a little bit, and then I take a little bit of pumpkin. This is just adding some different variations for the rust here, and so you can kind of see it start to take shape there, and the thing that does it is this yellow color, and I just put a little, and I mean just a little bit of yellow to brighten it up, but it, like, honestly, it really makes it look like rust. You could even use a little bit of baking soda if you wanted some texture. I felt like with the texture of the can, I didn't really need that. And then I'm going to go over the whole thing with Mod Podge once the paint dries, so that way I'm not going to chip or flake any of the paint off, because we want it to kind of keep this aged look. So I just go over both sides with some matte Mod Podge. Make sure that it's matte. I like, at least I like the way that that looks. Now I got these napkins at Home Goods, and I've done quite a few projects for spring with them, and I'm just loving them still, so I thought this would be a perfect project to do here. So I'm just cutting out this cute little chicks and those little eggs there. And by cutting, I don't really mean cutting. I mean, I'm using a brush, as you can see here, with some water, and then you just tear away the edges. So see how that was the bottom of the napkin? I didn't want that crisp edge. I want it to look very kind of natural, like it was just kind of torn out of something. And that is the easiest way to do that with the napkins. Are so easy to work with. And look at how cute. I just think these are so darling. Check Dollar Tree, check Dollar General, Walmart. I got these at Home Goods, is a great place to check, or TJ Maxx for napkins, but all seasons they have such fun napkins, and start looking at them with what DIYs can I do out of these, because there are so many fun ones. And then just using some Mod Podge, you place down where you want your little piece of the napkin, and then you just go over it, the top of it, with some Mod Podge to make sure it is sealed in really good. Now, if for instance you couldn't find napkins, or there was a design online you really liked, I show several videos. I can link some below in my description box if you want me to, of how you can print your own item on tissue paper and do basically the same process. Like, there are so many fun things that you can do with like the decoupage process. I just think that it's so much fun, and you just use your imagination. I mean, there's no right or wrong. Honestly, halfway through I'm like, ugh, is this even gonna look good? And I feel like it always turns out so cute. So I'm just taking the little bunny here, and I'm putting the bunny on the back because I wanted this to be visible from all sides, that it would look like it had stuff done to it. Now, I did a project like this in one of my videos in like earlier this week or last week or sometime, and I used a little hanging metal basket from the Dollar Tree, and a lot of you messaged me and were like, we can't find those baskets at the Dollar Tree. This would be perfect to use a tin can like this instead of that, because I know sometimes Dollar Tree is not consistent. Now I have this lace. This was like self-adhesive lace from the wedding section at Hobby Lobby, and I just put that around the bottom. I thought it would look so cute and kind of add a little shabby chic flair. I'll soften it up a little bit. And this is just fencing wire. So I honestly, we use this on our farm for fencing. It was just a kind of a roll that I kind of snuck out of my husband's truck from when he was fixing fence one day that I could use in my DIY projects. I feel like a little bit lighter gauge than this would probably work better. I don't even know what gauge this is, but I fit it through each of those holes on the side, and then just using some pliers, I spun it around to kind of twist it on. And then I did cut off the excess edge, and you can see I sanded down if there was any rough areas. And so now I'm putting in some Spanish moss, and originally I was just going to put these eggs in and call it done. And then I thought I had this cute little paper that I cut up from a book with some pinking shears, and I really loved the way that the pinking shears kind of added a little bit of a different texture than just the torn paper. And I got thinking, I had this little wooden chick, and I thought this would be so cute to kind of have the chick in there, since the little design on the front is the chicks and the eggs, is to put this little chick with the eggs. But I couldn't think of how I wanted to do it because I didn't want to take away from the color of the can, like the designs on the can. So I just tore up some paper here, and then just using Mod Podge, just randomly placed the paper. There was no rhyme or reason to this, you guys. I just went for it, just stuck them on kind of close to the same shape, but you're going to end up cutting it out after it dries. So you can see here I just used the scissors, and I got as close to the edge as I could. And then my little trick here with the fingernail file that gets into all of those little grooves and nooks and crannies. Look at how cute that little chick looks with the paper there. Now I wanted to age it a little bit, so I am just taking it, and I am, this is just an aging kit that I got from the craft store. I believe they sell, JoAnns I think is where I got this from. But I just went with that little ink. You could easily use antiquing wax or just a little bit of like brown paint watered down on there. But I just wanted to age him up a little bit. And then I stuck those little eggs in there with a little bit of hot glue so they wouldn't go anywhere. And then I just thought this was so cute, but I needed, of course, to age it a little more because that's just my style. So, of course, that's totally optional. And I tied this cute little bow, twine bow on the edge there. And oh my gosh, like I just think this is cute. Now, after I got it and looked at it, I was like, it's kind of missing a little bit of greenery. So I'm taking just a little bit of boxwood from Walmart and just a couple little sprigs of it, put some hot glue, and I just tuck it here and there just to kind of add a little bit more greenery into it. I felt like that kind of filled it out a little bit. But you guys, I literally pulled this tin can out of my garbage. It's a napkin and a book that was destined for the trash. Like, come on. I think this is so cute. I love it. It's that perfect little whimsical Easter decor, and I'm so excited to use this. Is this something that you guys would try? Hey guys, it's me, Emily. I want to take just a minute to tell you about this awesome handbag that was sent to me by Teddy Blake. Now, when they reached out to me, I had never heard of Teddy Blake before, what their company was or anything, but I know that I love purses and handbags, and so I was totally game to try this out. Now, let me tell you a little bit about this bag. This bag has all of the bells and whistles that a luxury bag has, but it removes like the $1,000 to $2,000 price tag that you get with those extreme luxury bags. It is made with real Italian leather. It has that beautiful leather smell when you open it up. It comes beautifully packaged. It is so well made. The stitching is absolutely fabulous. I chose this particular bag because I loved the size of it. I loved the handles. I loved that I could open it up, and I'll show you the inside in just a moment. But I could put my laptop and my tablet. I used this going out of town this weekend, and I was able to fit so much stuff in this just to keep in the car with me. And you can see it opens up so wide there. It has this beautiful red suede inside, and I wish you guys could just smell the beautiful leather smell that this has, but it was a fantastic bag, and I was very impressed. Now, Teddy Blake, they make their bags with a team of Italian designers. They're pitched from very well-known luxury brands. They create their handbags in style designs for every choice, and they release new collections every single month. And they work very hard to develop new and unique designs, and they try to keep that price point at affordable levels. Teddy Blake's bags are made from experienced craftsmen that work in the same Italian factories as other luxurious brands, and they have knowledge and the skills that they have gathered from decades of experience working with luxury leather. And they turn the Teddy Blake bags into a literal work of art. Truly, they are so beautiful. Now, I got to pick the bag out that I wanted. I looked through their whole website. It took me a couple of days to decide which one I wanted to choose, and I wanted to go with something that was more of a staple that I could carry all the time. And with these bags, they are definitely meant to stand the test of time with their craftsmanship, the way the leather is dyed, the way that they are stitched. So I went with this plain black style. I thought that it was beautiful. This is called the Bella. I got the 15-inch. I loved the fact that it had the red on the inside, and it is beautiful. Now, it has the zippered compartments on either side. I loved that because I can tuck in there things that I want to have enclosed to not fall out. But I love that open space, especially with kids. You can toss some things in there that you need to really quickly. You have access to them. It's easy for my kids when I'm driving. I tell them to pull my sunglasses out. I just keep them right there in that main middle compartment, and they're so easy for them to find. So it is beautiful, this bag, and I am so excited, and I really feel like this style will take me through a long time. It also comes with a over-the-shoulder strap that I can attach if I choose to do that. So far, I have loved just having the shorter handles on it. It has made it super easy to use and to work with. So if you are someone like me who wants the luxurious handbag but does not want that $1,000 to $2,000 price tag, I would definitely check out these Teddy Blake bags. All of the information is going to be down in my description box, so definitely check them out. But I have absolutely loved this bag and want to thank Teddy Blake for allowing me to try this. You guys, let's get right back to the DIYs. I am so excited to show you this project. I absolutely love the final result. Now, a few weeks back, I showed you my Dollar Tree haul, and I got this cute little picket fence sign from Dollar Tree. And I had so many of you be like, oh, I've had those, I've seen those, or I'm excited to see what you do. So I hope that this is something that you maybe haven't seen before, and it turns out super cute. So hopefully you can give this a try. Now, on this particular sign, these things come off so easy. Both signs that I have tried to remove things from, they pop right off. They don't ruin the sign. So hopefully that's how everybody finds their sign. So I just get everything removed from the sign, and then I just cover it in white chalk paint. You could do whatever color that you would like. And then I'm going to go put with a Sharpie marker, just put the slats back on this fence by just using a ruler and drawing some straight lines there. And then I'm going to go over them with some white paint to dull them down a little bit, because I don't want the huge contrast of the black with the I want it to look aged and kind of more natural, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. I know I say if that makes sense a lot, but I guess in my mind I just want to make sure that I'm saying it so you can understand it. So I apologize for that. Anyway, now I'm just taking some antiquing wax on a chip brush, and I wiped a little bit of it off on my baby wipe there, and then I'm just slowly going back and forth here on each of the slats to kind of give it a wood feel. And then I'll kind of go back, and you want to make sure not to go over an area that you've already done, because that will smear the wax and it won't give you the really good streak lines there. Now, these boxes I'm sure you've seen at Dollar Tree. I'm removing the centers out of them, and we're just going to use the bases of these little drawers. So I'm just using some wood glue and some hot glue to get these glued together. And I had somebody ask me if that wouldn't compromise the wood glue by using hot glue, and it does not at all. It's actually pretty common practice if you don't have like clamps that size or something, or in a pinch, to use hot glue to clamp them closed, that instant hold to keep the wood glue there and in place. Now, I do have clamps, so I am just going to clamp this together, and I wasn't intending on doing this, but I really don't want there to be a space between those little boxes. I want them to look as cohesive as possible. Now, I'm taking some craft sticks. You could do painter sticks, you could do the craft popsicle sticks, whatever. These are just some sticks that I got on Amazon. I'll see if I can link them below for you. And they don't have like the curved edge like the painter stick. That's why I like them. And I thought it would really elevate this to have it look like a little planter box if I put this edge on it. So I just cut it to size, just by eyeballing, kind of where I measured it, cutting it with my scissors, and then I'm just using the wood glue and the hot glue. You do want to make sure, you can see there that I don't put the hot glue over the wood glue. You don't want those two to mix. You want the wood glue to actually only be touching the wood. And then I just cover this in white paint. I went back and forth if I wanted to do just stain it brown, which would be really cute too, but I am really happy with how it looks all together at the end. I like the really light color to it. So then this is just one of these cute little signs that they do at Dollar Tree all year long. This is one of the hollow ones, if you can see what I'm talking about here, that's not like the solid wood, and that's what we want. And so I just removed that little hanger because I want this to be like a little tray shelf on here. So I'm just going to measure this. You can see it's way too big for how it is, so I need to cut it down. So I'm just kind of measuring it there and seeing exactly how I want it. And you can kind of see, the cameras are really hard to pick up, that I drew a little line right there where I'm going to cut this. Now I pull out my miter box and I cut this down with my miter box. So you can do that however you would like. You could also build, with just using some paint sticks, your own little tray to go there. I just thought I was going to try to use the sign, and it actually works out really well. Now I need this to be closed on the end, so the piece that I cut off, I am just going to tear that little end piece off. It snaps right off, and just using some super glue of some sort, I'm just going to glue that back onto the end so it makes a shorter sign. Now by all means, if you can find a shorter sign at Dollar Tree that works, that's already this size, definitely use that. So this paper just peels off of here, and then if you spray it with some water and let it sit for a couple of minutes, you can scrape all of that glue and all of the residue and the excess paper off. So I just get that all clear. You don't really want to paint over it because it will start to peel up the paper. It'll absorb the paint and it won't look very nice. So I do recommend taking all of that paper off. Now I paint that other tray white, and then I go back in and distress everything because you guys know that I love to distress things. So completely optional here how you decide to do this. I didn't sand any of it. I only used just antiquing wax on my chip brush, and I just went over all of the edges, and I thought that little lip going around the edge there gave it a really good dimension. It added a lot with the to add a little more distressing to it. Now I'm going to glue this onto our little fence here using just some super glue. So I don't use any hot glue because I didn't want it to push out at all. I wanted it to be as flush as it could. And sometimes with hot glue, it will dry a little bit before you push it and it will not let it sit flush to the thing. So that's why I did that. And I didn't have any clamps that would really clamp that really good. So now I'm just distressing this other little tray here just the same way, just antiquing wax on a little chip brush and going around getting the coverage that I want. And then on the back side of it, I also use some super glue and then place that, and I could kind of get the corners, but there was a little bowing in the middle, so I just held it with my fingers for about 60 seconds for it to dry. You guys, look at how cute this little fence like potting bench. I don't even know what you want to call it, but I think it's so cute. So now I'm just going to accessorize it. And you guys, this is something that you can use all year long and accessorize with all sorts of different seasons. I'm just putting a little beaded garland, kind of fits right over those little pegs on the pickets on that little fence there. And the little tray lets you just stick some things in. Kind of think of like an alternative. You guys know I love to do like different types of tiered trays, and I feel like this really kind of fits that bill. And you can just see that things just sit right in there. So here's a little bonus DIY. I wanted something else on my shelf there, but I couldn't find anything in my stash that really worked. So I'm just taking, this is a wooden nameplate card for like a table setting. And on one side it's a chalkboard, it's just the plain wood on the other side. And it came from Hobby Lobby in a pack of like 10. It was like $2 or $3. So keep an eye open for those because I love this shape. And this is just a Dollar Tree rub-on transfer that I am using. I thought this was so cute. If you guys follow me on Instagram and you see this transfer at your Dollar Tree, message me and let me know. I would love to find some more of them. Now, as I'm peeling this back, if there's an area that the design is not fully transferred, I just lay it back down and then I just go over it with my little craft stick there to make sure that it's fully transferred. Where the antiquing wax does make it take a little bit of extra time because that wax, it doesn't want to stick to the best. You guys, this is one of those items that I kind of visualized it. I had the little idea, and as I was putting it together, I'm like, this could be a total fail. But oh my gosh, like I am so excited with the outcome of this. I think it's absolutely beautiful. It's going to be so fun to decorate for all different seasons. It's a piece that can stay out all year long in my home, and it was constructed with all Dollar Tree items. Like that just blows me away. Is this something that you guys would make? If you did, would you leave it up year round? I would love to know your thoughts on this piece. I've been loving doing DIYs with these cute little seed pots here. You can get these anywhere that you get garden supplies. I've seen them most recently at Walmart. I grabbed these at Lowe's when I was there, but these have a beautiful texture. Some of them don't maybe have as much texture as this, but it's totally fine. All you need is just something that is of this little like peat pot consistency here, almost like a cardboard. But I'm just going to give a very light coat of paint here. You can do it as messy as you want. You don't want full coverage. I'm just trying to have a contrast to the brown color as well as show that texture a little bit, so that way it'll be fun to work with. We're going to do some Easter decoupage. So I have all of these different types of Easter napkins. I went to Home Goods one day and they had so many fun Easter napkins. I couldn't decide. I just kept picking one up after another, being like, I want this one, I want this one. And so I have to do some projects using all of them now because I have to justify why I bought so many napkins. But these turn out so cute, and I really can see me doing so many more projects with this. So I'm just using a little bit of water on a paintbrush to go around the design to get that cut out, so that way we can put it on our pot. I use some Mod Podge and I put a little bit of that on my pot, and then I'm just going to stick down this cute little design of these little chicks here. Once I get it placed where I want it, I will go over the top again with some Mod Podge, and you can kind of see how the edge is hanging over the bottom of the pot there. That's not a problem. I'll just put Mod Podge over that and it will just be set in place. You can also put a little bit of water again on that edge if it's going up over the top or the bottom, and kind of tear it off and give it a rough little edge, but when it's folded over the bottom, it looks just as cute. The fun part of this is you don't have to stick to like one particular napkin style. You can jump around from different napkins that you have that have little pieces that go together. I think I use like 3 or 4 different types of napkins on this. And the bigger the pot, the more designs that you would be able to use on your pot. So these are quite small, so it actually made it a little more manageable. That's why I decided to make 4 of them, because I wanted, once I got started, I wanted different feels for all the different ones. So you can see this one, I love this cute little flower here. So I just put that little bit of water around the flower, and then I just gently, one thing I did forget to mention, I do show it, but I did forget to mention that you want to make sure napkins are like a 2-ply napkin. So you want to make sure that you tear them apart. You peel back that back white layer or whatever color it is. There's going to be a backing on there, and so you're only working with that top layer. It's going to make life so much easier. Otherwise, what happens is it just turns into a mess because you're using that other layer and it will come unstuck, and then you get it stuck to your design. And anyway, so just remember to peel that second layer back. It really only takes like one time of making that mistake before you remember every time to peel it back. So anyhow, there's so many fun little designs here. They weren't all necessarily Easter. They were all kind of more like had a spring type of theme to them. I thought this little bumblebee one with this little vintage writing on here was super cute. And you just kind of lay it over. I mean, if you want to tell a story in your mind, like I love to come up with stories for my crafts. You guys know that that's something that I love to do. And so each little pot, I kind of had like a little theme going, or I would, think like, oh, well, this is going to have this on it. I don't know. I just was kind of going with it. And I just keep adding to it. And honestly, you can be as simplistic as you want, or you can add as much as you want. But this particular napkin had this cute little stripe on here, this little flower here. So I just put a little bit of water all along the napkin there, and I just carefully tear that. And I'm going to put a little border around the top of my pot. I thought this would look so cute and set it off. So once I tear that off, I just kind of lay that around the top of the pot, and it kind of adds that little detail. These were so much fun, and you can use your imagination. I know Dollar Tree has some beautiful napkins that you could get, and this is something that you could do for any season. It doesn't necessarily have to be for spring or Easter or anything. But I just loved these. When I saw these napkins, I was like, yes, I want these. And so I'm just showing you here really quick, just a couple of the others, some of the, I won't go into detail on each of these other pots that I do, but I'll just show you a couple of little things here. Now, the fun thing is you can decorate these however you want as far as putting things in them. If you want to put just like a little cute potted plant in there, just an artificial one, that's perfect. You want to actually use them to grow like your seeds from, how darling would that be? So many cute little things that you could do. I love this little bunny on this one. Isn't that so precious? I thought it was so cute. But there's so many different things that you can do with these. I'll show you what I ended up putting it in them in the final reveal here. But you're limited only to what your imagination can think of. Now on this one, the bunny was too big for the pot, but I didn't let that stop me. I just bent its ears over and went with it. You can still tell that it's a bunny. I still thought it was really cute. And then I just Mod Podge it down and go with it. I thought it was, I loved this little bunny. I'm really happy with how these all came out. As you can see, I put a little nest in one of them, a little floral arrangement in one of them. I got some raffia and made like another little nest with an egg in that one. And then those little carrots I thought were absolutely darling in that Peter Rabbit one. I thought that was just so cute. What would you put in your pots if you made them? Can you think of something different that you would do? I personally love how these turned out, and I'm so excited to use them. This is a great project to use for these tag signs that you can get at Dollar Tree. Really, you can use any shape to do this. This is also one of these little like removable wallpaper sheets, sticker sheets that you can get at Dollar Tree. At my Dollar Tree, they're in the section where like the stencils and things are like that. Now I'm just going to sand off the glitter from the front of this sign because I don't want that texture there. And then I just kind of wipe it down with a baby wipe, and I'm just going to peel back this paper from this cute wood design. Now you could even use like an actual piece of wood for this if you wanted to. I want to make like a little floral pocket. You'll kind of see what I mean by that as we go here. And I line this up as best as I can on the edge, but I'm gonna use my little X-Acto knife to kind of cut it out and make sure that we get all of the edges nice and clear. You can kind of see, I'll just do that on the edge here to make sure that it comes right to the edge, and then just peel that back. Now I wanted to save as much of this paper as I can, because if you guys know anything about crafting or me or anything, I'm like, oh, I can use this. There's enough that I should be able to use it. I don't know if I'm ever going to use this amount, but man, I saved it. So that way, if I need something that small or something, I've got that little bit left. So now I'm just taking some burlap. I had this on hand from a project that I did at Christmas time, but any kind of fabric. I know they have that darling Farmhouse fabric from Dollar Tree that would be perfect for this, or just some scrap material that you have. The burlap does look really cute, so if that's something that you have on hand, but I mean, definitely don't feel like you have to run out and buy burlap. Use your imagination or what you can come up with here. Even like a dish towel, like with a cute Farmhouse design or something on there. But I'm just hot gluing the top. I want this to look like it's kind of rolled down, like almost like a burlap sack that something's planted in. Like sometimes you'll get flowers in that. That was kind of my thought of what I was going for here. And so I'm just putting this hot glue down after I have it folded over, and I want to kind of create some creases. But just be careful because hot glue seeps through the burlap and can kind of burn you. So make sure that if you have like some finger protectors, or just know that, or if you want to use popsicle sticks or something. But it came through and kind of caught me off guard a little bit for some reason. But anyway, so I just put some glue around 3 of the edges there. So obviously you want that top edge that we folded down to be open, because that's our pocket. We're going to be tucking some flowers down in this. So I'm just going around and making sure that that's all fixed how I want it to. Now these are just some half beads. This would be optional, but this kind of helps make it look like this is what's adhered the burlap to your sign base there. So these were just a natural color of wood. You could leave them, paint them any color, make them look like metal, whatever you would like to do, buttons or anything. I mean, you definitely use your imagination. These just came from Amazon. And I just did them with the antique wax, and then I touched them a little bit with some white paint with a chip brush just to kind of brighten them up a little bit. And then I spaced them out as best as I could and just used hot glue to stick them on. So now, since this sign is a hanging sign here, and so I just took some thicker twine that I have, and I'm just sticking that through, and I'm tying the knot on the front of the sign because I thought that would look really cute to have that just on the front there. So now comes the fun part of getting to actually embellish this with all of the flowers. So I'm taking just a bunch of different random flowers that I have. Most of them come from Dollar Tree. I thought these little dahlias here is that pinky peach color. I thought they were so pretty, and so I definitely wanted that to bring a little bit of color into my home for springtime. And then there's this grass that I have here that I just am cutting and sticking that in the background there. You guys, I've said this several times, but I have no formal training whatsoever in floral arranging or anything. I just do what looks good and feels good. And so, if it's something that maybe isn't what catches your eye, then just go with whatever feels right to you when you're doing it. So I have these just tons of different florals. This little boxwood right here that I'm going to use, these came from Walmart, and you get actually a pretty decent size sprig of it for just a couple of dollars, and a little goes a long way, and I've absolutely loved it. So if you happen to get into Walmart, check their floral section and look specifically for that boxwood, because it's just awesome. Now this grass in the background, I was not liking how it was so straight. It looked a little too uniform to me. So, I don't really know what I would call this technique, but I guess I'm like crinkling it up here to kind of give it maybe, I don't know, I just wanted it to look a little more messy, I guess. Now, I do know in floral arranging, a lot of times they do odd numbers in the main focal point. So I thought that I would do a 3rd dahlia on there. I don't know. Do you guys think I should have left it at 2? I thought it looked kind of cute with 3, but I have these little placeholder. This came from Hobby Lobby in their spring section, so they're 40% off right now. But I just thought it would be really cute to kind of have this little chalkboard sign on the front of it. So I just wrote spring. You guys can see that my handwriting is, it's okay. If you have a Cricut or something, you could definitely use that. But I thought it would be fun to be able to change it up for different seasons or different things on there. And then I just had this little burlap bow I thought would be cute on there to kind of do that. So I just used some hot glue to get that. And I'm really trying to decide if I want that 3rd flower in there or not. But ultimately I leave it, and I think it turns out really cute. You guys, what do you think of this? I love these little pocket signs like this. It's something that's so versatile because you really could change it up for different seasons. But I just think this one turned out so cute. What do you guys think? Is this something that you guys would try? I recently found these little thread bobbins here, and I found a bunch of them at a little store that I went to, and I thought they would make the most perfect carrots. Now, my mom has decorated with things like this for years, and I have some that I do decorate with, but I thought if I made them more kind of like a spring type theme here, I would probably use them a little bit more, like it was something that I would look forward to getting out. So you could even leave them their original colors if you don't want to paint them, but you guys, I love how these turn out. And so it's something that I'm going to use a lot more this way than if I hadn't painted them. So I'm just using some orange chalk paint, and I just do the first one I painted with just the traditional pumpkin Waverly chalk paint. This next one I added a little bit of white to it to brighten it a little bit because I really wanted these little carrots to have some contrast. I really wanted these to kind of have an earthy vibe, look kind of natural, you know, just like a little bundle of carrots that you picked up at the farmer's market. And the other one I did a really kind of sparse, messy coat almost, so you could still see these were a green color that they had on them before, and so you could kind of see that green on the ridges there. And you can see when I dry these with my heat gun here, you can kind of see how those colors take shape there, and I love the variation here. And then I do go over the two that I did with the heavier coat. I give them both a second coat because I wanted some really good coverage on there. And there's like a little brass or metal part on the end of these, like on the tip, and if I got any paint on there, it was really easy to wipe it off with a baby wipe, so just keep that in mind. And then here's just the regular orange one, and then I went in on my one that was the full orange color. I did antiquing wax here. So this is just the brown antiquing wax from Waverly, and I give it a really good coat all over with a brush. And I wanted to make sure it went into all those little ridges and everything. And then I took my baby wipe and I would come in and wipe it off. So that way it gives it a really good, it's going to kind of take it off, but not all the way, because it's going to stay in all of the ridges and all of the chalk paint, like it's going to kind of go into all of the little divots and everything in the chalk paint. Now this is some white wax. I've never used the white wax before, but I've seen a lot of people use it and I love the effect. So I picked some up last time I was at the craft store, and on that lighter pumpkin, I'm taking that and painting, or not pumpkin, I'm thinking pumpkin because of pumpkin chalk paint, but these clearly are carrots. Oh my goodness. So I paint it all over the carrot, and then I'm just wiping off all of that white wax. And you guys, I love how this looks. I'm so excited to use this on some other projects. And then this one I kind of went up over that end too. I just love the way that it was brightening this up. And again, it leaves it in all of those ridges and everything. You can see how they're lined up. They all look very different, and I love how they contrast. Now this is just some greenery from Hobby Lobby that I picked up. It's over in like their faux fruit and veggie section is where I found this, and I felt like it looked a little bit like the ends of a carrot. Maybe not, I don't know, but in my mind it did, so that's what we're using. So they fit right down into these little spools there, so I just used a little bit of hot glue. You could use another type of glue too if you wanted. I just love the, you know, how quick and fast hot glue is, so I just shoved that right down in, and that is it. I mean, that is so simple on these, and look at how cute those are. I mean, they really do look like carrots. It's almost like they were meant to be that way. So I just take some twine here, and I'm gonna make a cute little bundle. So I just wrap the twine around a few times and then tie it off in a knot, and I kind of wanted them a little bit, you know, not quite stacked right on top of another, but I have that top one kind of askew a little bit there, and then just tie that with a knot. Now I did have this little teeny tag that I had from a laser project I had done that it was left over, and it just says 25 cents each on it, and I thought that would be so cute to stain with some antiquing wax and tie on there. Now obviously if you don't have anything like this, just even like a little tag that you cut out, or just something extra that you have, I don't know, just cut it out of paper or some cardstock or something and do it. But I just thought that was so cute to have that on there. I just think these turned out darling. Look at how cute this is in this little vignette here. I have this little box here. I'm so excited to decorate with this. And honestly, I was like, this is more for spring, but as I look at this, I think this is something that I possibly could leave out year round, like in my kitchen or something. What do you guys think of this? I hope you guys really liked this one. This project is so fun and it really does scream springtime or just that fresh garden vibe. So you can use any kind of bucket or planter that you have. That was just one. It came from IKEA, but I did pick it up at a yard sale. And then this little bundle of, these are grapevine wreaths, and I honestly think they're supposed to be together like this. It was $3.99 from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to cut them apart and I'm just going to use one of them because I thought it looked a little too thick, and I don't really know that these were intended to be cut apart like this, but there's no reason you couldn't do that. So then you get two projects out of it. And then I'm just taking some floral foam here and I'm just going to cut this. I just use my putty knife to cut that fairly easily. And I'm just shoving some craft paper down there so that will kind of help the foam stick up a little bit there, so it'll be flush with the top of the pail. And I just stick all that foam in so that way I have a good surface to work with. Now I'm taking some Spanish moss and I'm just going to glue around all of the edges here. I just put a little hot glue down. I grabbed that Spanish moss just in little clumps there and I just kind of put it around. Be careful when you're pushing that down because the glue does seep up through that and you can really burn yourself, which, you know, I may or may not be speaking from experience here. But I'm just gluing all of this all the way around, and you don't necessarily have to use Spanish moss if that's something that it's too messy for you or you don't love it. I mean, you could use some reindeer moss if you wanted. There's definitely different options that you have here. Now I do go around and just trim the edges here because I want kind of a cleaner look. Maybe not super clean, but it was kind of getting a little squirrely and out there. Now I'm taking some of my fencing wire. This is just wire that we had from our farm that we use when we fix our fences and everything. And I'm just cutting a little piece of it and making like a hook. Kind of like when you're putting flowers, I don't know, at the cemetery on Memorial Day and you take your wire hangers. Do you guys remember doing that to help the flowers stay in the ground? I just remember doing that a lot with my grandparents when I was younger. So I'm just folding these little wires over, making little hooks, and that's going to stick down into that floral foam that we have there. Or I guess it's just styrofoam, not floral foam. And it's just going to make that little wreath stand up there in your pail. Now I have, this is from a project I did last year that I pulled out the greenery, and then this is Dollar Tree greenery right here that I'm showing you. So this is just like a vine that I got from Dollar Tree. But when I stuck this one up that I took it out of another project that I did. I really liked the way this one looked. So I'm just going to cut a couple of sprigs off of it. But really, Walmart has like beautiful boxwood or eucalyptus that would work, that you can get for like 97 cents a sprig. So you definitely, I mean, if you wanted to use flowers or something to do this, you could. But I'm just taking the two sprigs and I'm sticking it down in, so one kind of goes off one direction and the other goes off the other. So it's going to try to look like it's growing up around the wreath, kind of like a vine. So I just kind of will not really break, but kind of pull apart some of the grapevine and stick some of the little greenery through it. That's what's going to help it look like this greenery is growing around the wreath there. Now I happen to have this little nest in my stash here, and this would be completely optional, but I really did feel like this drove home the springtime feel. I love how clean it looks without it as well. So I mean, it's something you could easily remove if you didn't want that there, but I'm just making a little hook there with the wire and just to kind of help get it into place there. And I'm going to show you guys what it looks like with it and without it, and you can tell me which one you like the best. But I really just think this is so beautiful. I've seen these in the craft stores or in boutiques or anything like that. I've seen these go for like $30, $40, maybe even more than that. But I really just think that this looks so pretty and so natural that it would be beautiful in any space. What do you guys think of this one? I've seen a lot of fun DIYs with old springs, and I found this at Vintage Market Days and I picked it up thinking I would save it for springtime. It's very rusted, as you can see, so just be very careful if you're using any type of rusted metal that you don't cut yourself or anything. Now, I had a few people in my last video, I used Mod Podge to help form a nest out of Spanish moss, and I had a few people say try hairspray and see if that works better. So that's what I'm doing. I just have some aerosol hairspray here. I don't know that it necessarily worked a whole lot better. It could have just been the type of hairspray that I had. But either way, I felt like worked okay. So I'm still kind of on a mission, finding the best way to make a little nest, but I just kind of got it wet, whether you use Mod Podge, and somebody suggested spraying Mod Podge or watering it down and putting it in a spray bottle. So I think maybe I'll try that next. But I just kind of formed it into the shape that I wanted, and I pushed it down in the center to make a little spot for some little eggs to go. You can see I'm using my heat tool here to kind of dry it so that way I could get it formed like just a cute little nest. And this is just Spanish moss. I buy mine in a big bag at Hobby Lobby because I feel like you get more and it's a little bit better quality than Dollar Trees, but they also sell it at Dollar Tree. So I'm just taking my spring here and forming that nest onto the top, and I use a little bit of hot glue to go around to make sure that it's set in there, so it's just not going to fall off or anything like that. And it's very just be very careful because that hot glue can seep through that Spanish moss really quick. But once you do that, it kind of takes shape and it's starting to look super cute. I really love this, and I do take my scissors and go around the edge, kind of trim it up a little bit after I form it. That way it can, sometimes they can get a little out of control. You can see here I'm just trimming that there. So it's up to you, kind of how rustic you want it to look, or if you kind of want it to look a little bit, I didn't really want it uniform, but you know, I wanted it at least to kind of not be all over the place. So now I'm just taking 3 little eggs that I have from just a basket or a little container that I bought of these, and just little speckled eggs, and I glue them together so that way they're not going to fall out anywhere. I mean, it is a spring, so if there's like movement, it might kind of vibrate or bounce a little bit, so I just don't want the eggs to come out of there. And then I thought it would be really cute to take a little bit of greenery and just kind of tuck it in. Now I started using hot glue for this, but then I moved on to just some Elmer's craft glue, just to kind of glue in a little piece and twist it around the Spanish moss. That way it just brings a little bit of the greenery, it kind of has a little bit more of a fresh feel to it. This is the glue that I used right here. And it works really well. So that's just what I did to glue those in. Now, I forgot to record this part, so I'm just showing you the best I can of what I did. So I have this little aging kit here. I got it at JoAnns. I've seen them sell it at Hobby Lobby as well, or you could even just use antiquing wax. But it's this little like stamper thing with like velvet almost or something on it that you can kind of wipe this ink on pieces of paper or cardstock to age it. And so I'm just going around what I did. This is just like cardstock here, and you can see I'm bending it on all different ways. And what happens when you do this is it will create creases in your paper. So when you take your little dabber there and you rub it on, those creases will pop. And there's a couple different colors of ink here to use. And then I also will take it and spray it with some water. And the type of ink that it is, it will allow like, I want to say age spots, but I mean like those, like it looks like it's just really old. I'll show you up close here in just a second. I'm just drying this all off. I did this exact same process on a tag that I'm going to hang from this spring. So I just wanted to walk you through how I did that. But can you see all those little water spots on there? It just looks really aged. And then, so this is my tag. And what I did is this is a Dollar Tree rub-on transfer. I got this last year at springtime. I'm hoping I find more because I only found one last year. But I just placed it underneath this transfer and then just used a craft stick to rub it off onto the cardstock there, and you can see how absolutely darling. I love the vintage aged look of this, both sides of it. I think this is going to be darling tied onto our cute little spring. Now, when I fray my burlap fabric, I'm left with kind of these little strands of the burlap, and so I'm just using a bunch of those. I thought that would be really cute tied on here. So I just tied it around my tag, and then I'm just tying it at the top of this cute little spring, just below the birdhouse there, so this tag can kind of hang there. I felt like it really needed something else. I mean, you could leave it just plain with the spring and the bird's nest. I've also seen some really cute flower arrangements on the top of springs like this. I'm curious if you've seen anything with these vintage springs like this. I think they're so fun, and you can actually find them quite easily at the antique store. Like I said, I found mine at Vintage Market Days. Look at how absolutely darling this looks. I am so excited for this, and I mean, I know it's quite literally spring, a spring for spring. I just think it turned out beautiful, and I love the feel, and honestly, I love the tag just as much as I love the bird's nest on the spring. I love using this foam core board or cardboard or whatever you have to make a cute little circle out of, to make a wreath. I'm just using a surface or a little template to trace a circle on here, and then I'm going to use my X-Acto knife to cut around. Now when I traced this circle, I thought I wanted a little bigger than that. I kind of wanted that as the size of the opening in the middle of my wreath, and so I'm just kind of going around it. You by all means do not need to make a perfect circle here. When you look at this, once I get this all completely cut out, you're going to think it's the ugliest looking circle. And I agree. It does not really look like a circle, but it works, I promise you. So stick with me here. Now, this is some boxwood from Walmart. It's $1.97 for a little, a pick of it. And you can honestly get so many different DIYs out of one pick. So I just cut a bunch of the little separate leaves off there, the separate little sprigs there. And what I do is I run a bead of hot glue around the outside portion of my circle. And then I'm just placing these with the leaves facing over the edge. You can see exactly how I'm doing this here. The stems are facing inward towards the middle of the wreath. And I just go around the entire thing like this. So it actually does move quite quickly if you have all your pieces cut out and everything. Now for the inside, I just do the opposite. I put a bead of hot glue around the inside circle, and then I face the little leaves towards the inner part of the circle with the sticks facing the outer part. So you can see exactly how I'm doing that here. And then once I go all the way around this and get this all completely covered in, you go around the middle. And I just put a little dot of hot glue, and then I just face all of the leaves in the same direction going around the circle. Now you'll get a lot of these little webby, stringy hot glue things from doing this, and so I just blast it with my heat gun here to kind of get rid of those. Just be careful not to melt your boxwood leaves, but that melts all of those little hot glue strings into, like, it just makes them completely disappear. Anyhow, I have this little bunny, and he came from Hobby Lobby. It was like $2.99 and then 40% off. And he's darling the way he or she, I don't know. I just assumed that the Easter Bunny's a boy, but I don't know. But anyways, I just paint it with some white chalk paint. Like I said, you could leave it the way that it was, but I wanted to kind of make it my own. So just a couple of coats on there. And then I just take a fingernail file and I sand all around the edges of this cute little bunny and to distress it. I love using fingernail files to do detail sanding like this and distressing because you can get into all those little areas. Now you could easily use some like antiquing wax or something like that and dry brush around the edges. Now these cute little windows, have you guys seen these from Dollar Tree? I feel like I've seen a lot of creators do some really, really, really cute things with them. And so I thought I would do something with this because I have a few of them in my stash. So I just whitewash kind of or dry brush some white paint on there to kind of give it a fun little aged look so it's not so plasticky looking. I glue my little wreath down there, and then I use a tumbling tower block and a couple of the little squares to get this bunny bumped out as much as I need to and just glue that on. I did wrap a little pip berry around his neck though. I just think this turns out so cute, and it'll be so cute propped up somewhere like a little shelf sitter. I just think this little bunny in that window has such a darling feel. What do you guys think of this one? I have these cute little seed pots. They're kind of what you use like when you're starting seeds in your house before you take them outside to plant. So perfect for springtime if you see these anywhere, like where you find your seeds or anything like that at your seed stores or wherever, greenhouses, pick some up because they're kind of fun to do some crafts with. So they have this beautiful texture to them, and so I'm, like a real natural feel. So I'm just taking a chip brush with some white paint and I go over each of them to kind of bring out that texture so you can really see it there. And then I'm just going to take some styrofoam and I'm just going to use my putty knife here to cut that. I find that is the easiest to cut it, and I'm just cutting 3 little areas there to stick down in each of the pots. I do kind of roll it on my table to give it a little rounded shape you can see in there so it fits in really nice. Now I'm going to take some cardboard. This is just off of, an Amazon box here, and I'm just going to trace each of these, well, just 3, not each of them, but I'm tracing 3 so that way I got 3 circles out. And I will use a screwdriver to kind of poke a hole in the middle of each of these. And what I'm doing here is I want a flat surface to be flush with the top of the pot. So, and you'll see why here because we're going to put some stuff on it. And so I just kind of, the nice thing with these pots is since it's kind of that natural material, like you can kind of manipulate it to fit those in. Now I'm just taking some white flowers that I have. This is something that was in my stash, and I want to say I either got it at Hobby Lobby or Walmart, but I mean definitely Dollar Tree has such beautiful florals. If you are anything like a crafter like myself, you probably have a good stash of florals already that you can pull from, but anything's going to look really cute doing this, and you can even change it up for different seasons if you wanted to. It would be really easy to pull out those flowers and stick something else in to change them. So now what I'm doing with that cardboard space is I'm just using some hot glue and some reindeer moss. And I just picked this reindeer moss up at Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to put a little bit of glue and then push down that reindeer moss all the way around each of these where that cardboard area that we cut out is. And I use a barbecue skewer to help me so that way I don't burn my fingers, and I can also get it pushed down in any like nooks and crannies, if you will, that it needs to be done. So you can kind of see here, I'll place down that little bit of reindeer moss and then just push it down with that barbecue skewer. I love how these turn out. I love the natural feel and the natural vibe that they're giving here. They're going to be beautiful in my home and definitely bring that touch of spring. Is this something that you guys would try, or do you like this? Let me know down in the comments. Are you guys on Instagram? If you are, I would love if you would come and find me. I am Farm Charm Chic over there. I'll leave a link down in my description box so you can easily find me. But come and see what I'm working on. I post there quite a bit. I like to show you things that I'm working on, or when I have videos ready. It's just another place to stay in touch. So if you do come find me, remember to send me a DM and say hi, because I do love meeting new friends. This project is really like bare minimum 2 projects in one. You could probably even say 3 projects in one. I'm just lumping them all together in this one section of the video. So I'm taking some fabric. I bought 1/3 of a yard. You can see I could easily probably get like 2 or maybe even at least 2 more bunnies out of it. And so I'm just tracing. This is an image. I'll leave the link to this down in my description box. I just got it off of Canva, and I'm just going to cut this out very gently to make sure we're going to make these cute little pillows out of this. I saw these in a store that I went to recently and thought they were darling, and I thought I'm going to do my best to try and recreate this. So you guys, we're going to try and do a blanket stitch. I've never done this before. So I'm using some embroidery thread, and then this is a tapestry needle. So I go through, you can see I went through the center part there, and I'm going to tuck the little tail of my thread down into here. Now I'll leave the link of the video that I watched on how to learn how to do a blanket stitch in case you really want to see a more detailed description of it, because sometimes I feel like maybe I can't articulate things like this. So don't worry, some of the next 2 do not sew. So I just really wanted to try this because the one I saw was sewn like this and I thought it was so cute. So I put my thread back through, and you just loop it through and pull it tight. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense. I've slowed it down a little bit here. So that's my first stitch. So my next stitch, you can see I will come from the back and I will stick it through. And then once that comes through, and it's taking me a little bit here because I've slowed this down here. So hopefully you can see exactly what I'm doing here. So I'll pull this through, and then what happens is when you pull it, and my thread's long because I want to go around the whole bunny. So I just pull that through there, and it leaves that little teeny loop because I don't pull it tight yet. And you just take your needle and you're just going to feed that through the needle, and then you're just going to pull it taut or tight, whatever the correct terminology is there. And it's going to make the cutest little stitch all around this bunny. You could easily use a sewing machine if you wanted to. I've just never done this before, and I thought it would be kind of fun. I like to challenge myself and do new things. So you go from the back, you pull your thread through, it leaves this little loop because you don't pull it tight yet, and then you feed your needle through that loop. My loop got a little tangled there, so I just straightened it out. And then I'm pulling that thread through. Now this does take a little bit of time to do the entire bunny, and so I'll kind of speed it up now and show you that, I just was showing you a progress check there of how it looks. And at first, at this point, when I looked at it, I was like, this is not going to turn out great. This is going to look like a beginner did this. You'll have to let me know at the end if you think it looks like a beginner did it or not. I'm very pleased with how it came out. But it's the same thing all around the entire bunny. You come from the back of the fabric towards you. You'll pull it through until there's that little teeny loop left. Feed your thread through that, and then pull it tight. And you just do that all around the entire bunny. You want to leave an opening at the bottom, though, because you're going to stuff it with some stuffing, obviously, because it's a pillow. Now, if you guys have done this stitch before, you'll be like, oh, I know exactly how to do this. It does take a little bit of time. I had a book going that I was listening to that I could sit here and do this, and it was honestly kind of therapeutic to do. My fingers did get a little bit of sore, so if you have like those little silicone things to put on your fingers, maybe, because it is kind of hard pulling that tapestry needle through the fabric because it's a little bit of a thicker needle, and that embroidery thread is a little bit thicker. But you want to use the embroidery thread for this particular kind of stitch. Now you could easily do a contrasting. I kind of got a similar color to what my material was, but you could easily do like a contrasting one so it showed up more. I kind of got one that blended in because I didn't want it to look really bad and be totally like blaring like a different color. If it really looked bad, I wanted it to blend in. So again, just go around the entire bunny like this. So here is the opening. So we're going to take some stuffing, and I buy really inexpensive pillows that I find either at Walmart or on clearance at the craft store to cut them open to use the filling out of, rather than just going and buying the filling itself, because I feel like that's much more expensive. So I'm just using a dowel to shove the stuffing up into the cute little ears of the bunny and into anywhere that's kind of like a little hard to get to, that you want to make sure it gets filled really well. I filled this pretty good. You can kind of use your best judgment on if you want it really full and tight, like have it be a really tight plush to it, or if you want it to be kind of softer, and more, less fluff in there. So you just use your best judgment. And once you get that completely full, then you're just going to pick up with that blanket stitch and finish it until the end. And that one I just tied a cute little bow onto. Now I'm going to show you this next step, or this next one. This is called Unique Stitch, and I've done no-sew pillows out of this. I absolutely love this stuff. So I'm just going around the edge, kind of just like you're sewing, but it's with glue. And you just go around, and then I just do little sections, and then I push that down, and some will seep out, and that's okay. You'll just wipe it off with like a baby wipe or a damp cloth. And then I just go around, remembering to leave the opening to fluff it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry. So I push that all down. We're going to set that aside, and I'll come back to that one. So now I have this floral fabric, and I kind of picked all these to kind of go together. I thought they really kind of had almost like French country vibe, or like a vintage vibe. Anyhow, so I'm tracing. Remember to put your right sides of your fabric together to trace, because you don't want those tracing lines to show. Now this one I'm using my pinking shears, and I'm just going to cut around the edge with that. Pinking shears, if you're new to sewing or have never seen these, I'm sure most of you are probably like, we know what these are. But honestly, when I started sewing, I had no idea why you would use these or what the zigzags were. So it cuts the fabric in a way that the fabric will not fray. So I'm going to leave these edges raw on this one, and so this is so they won't fray. Now you could cut it with typical scissors, because pinking shears are kind of expensive, and then you could just have the fabric fray around the edge. Would be absolutely darling. So now I'm just taking some hot glue, same thing as I did with that last one with the fabric glue, and I'm just going around the edges. Now this one I'm going to leave like this. My other bunny I'm going to flip inside out and have no seams on it showing. So this one, just going around those edges. I thought these little pinking shear edges, little zigzaggy edges like this would be so cute on this one. I just wanted to do a few different styles of this particular DIY, because I just thought it was so fun. And I have this little glue gun. This is not fabric hot glue. I know they make that, so you could use that. I don't anticipate these plushes getting a lot of use other than sitting like on a basket or on a shelf or something. So just leave an opening in the bottom. And then the same method, you're just going to stuff this. I use a dowel to get the stuffing all up in the ears. If you happen when you're stuffing to notice that the glue has come undone or something, just add a little bit more glue. So I just keep stuffing this bunny until, again, I just use my best judgment with how full I want it. And then you're just going to use your glue to close off that bottom gap there. And so I so apologize that I'm out of frame on this and don't show that. And then I'm just taking some of the other fabric, that little striped fabric, and I make a couple little strips of it to do a little tie, and I just fray the edges and tie that around for his little neck. I just thought that was so cute. I just love how this turns out, and I just kind of cut them off at an angle there, and I just think he turns out darling. So now we're coming back to this cute little plaid bunny here. So I just turned him what will be right side out, and so I wanted all of those seams on the inside. Now honestly, if I was to do this again, I don't know that I would use the fabric glue. It works just fine. It's just closing it up, I end up having to use hot glue, because the fabric glue, I've never really done something that was this tightly filled with the fabric glue. So I mean, it definitely works. Just know that when you're closing it off, you're probably going to want to use hot glue. So I use a dowel to get all of like the ears poked out where they need to be, the little tail, the little front feet, so that way everything is popped out. And then same method of filling it with the plush. And then you can see what I do is I put a little bit of the hot glue. I think right here I'm just showing that I'm closing it and I'm realizing that I can do this. But what I do is I put a bead of hot glue down and then fold the fabric kind of over itself to kind of make it look like a clean edge, not the raw edge of the fabric. And then I end up gluing those two together. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing here to close this off. It ends up absolutely darling, but I would probably just stick with hot glue next time when I did it. Or maybe not do one that I turned inside out unless I was actually sewing it on a sewing machine, just because of the small intricate details. Now I took this little floral fabric and cut some strips of it to make a little scrap bow, and I just tied it off with the embroidery thread, and then I just tied it on the back of this little neck of this cute little bunny here. And then I had this little thumbtack type thing. It was like a brass tack that I had, and I just cut the little pin off the back of it and then put it on the front there. But don't these turn out adorable? These look exactly like the ones that I saw in this little boutique, and I just think they're so cute. I made them. I actually learned how to do a blanket stitch, which I've always thought, oh, I'll get around to that. I actually did it, and I'm just very pleased with how these turned out. These would be so cute to have like in a little booth if you did that. What do you guys think of these? Are these something that you would try? I just absolutely, I know I always say I absolutely love them, but you guys, I really do. I'm so proud of how these turned out. This is such a fun, easy project here. I have this, I got it at Hobby Lobby. You can see it was like $2.99 that I got, and I'm just removing the sticker off of the front here. I removed it off the back as well, and this is a great sign for what it is, but we're going to change it up. I love looking through the clearance section at Hobby Lobby or even Walmart to find signs that are on sale that maybe weren't so popular or left behind, because as a crafter, I love to change things up and repurpose them and use them for my own. And so I'm just using a fingernail file. I love using a fingernail file in my crafting to sand. I can manipulate it really well. I just really love using those. So I sand off all of the words. Now I'm showing you there, this is from Dollar Tree right here, and you could definitely use this. I have something else in mind for it, or else I probably would have used that. So if you see those at Dollar Tree, pick them up, and that way you can continue on with the project very easily. So now I'm just taking some white chalk paint, and I'm just going to cover up that area that I sanded. We're going to put something over the top of this, so you're not really going to see it, but I just wanted to make sure it was kind of uniform. Now, this is from the Dollar Tree calendars from this year, and it's from the February page, and this is the Farmer's Market, and you can see here, this one, I couldn't use the front because the words were a little too long for my thing. You can see the front says Farmer's Market, the actual page says Garden on there. Look at these cute. I'm so excited to use this calendar in so many different projects. So I kind of used my thumbnail. You can kind of see the indentation. I laid that on my sign and kind of did that around the edges. So I had a template of where to cut. Now the front page, if you can use on your surface, is a little bit thicker, and so just to let you guys know when you do your crafting, but it had that words on the bottom of it that said like 2023 calendar or something. I don't want that on my DIY, so that's why I'm using the actual page here, but I just think this is so beautiful. Now I'm just using some Elmer school glue. You guys know that this is like my best friend with crafting. and it's particularly this purple Elmer school glue. I never have any problem with it peeling up, especially if you, like on a paper project like this, if you seal it at the end with some spray clear coat or Mod Podge or something like that. But I really find that I have a lot less wrinkling than I do with Mod Podge. Mod Podge and me sometimes get along, sometimes we don't, and I really feel like I always get along with this school glue here. So I glued the surface there, put it all over, and then I just do the edges of the paper as well, because I want that double bond, and I want to make sure that you get all of the edges, because that way when you place this on, it's not going to peel up. So I'm just checking the back to make sure I have it set correctly, because it's got a little stand on it. I didn't want to do it upside down because I'm notorious for doing stuff like that and having to redo it. So I'm just carefully lining up the edges here, and then I'm working from the center out to help push this down and alleviate or eliminate any wrinkles that you might have. And you can kind of see I'm rubbing some if I start to get any wrinkles, and just very lightly push this out. And depending on how thick your paper is you just don't want it to tear or anything like that. Now I do have this Mod Podge roller here. I'll link that down in my description box. I love this thing, and it really helps just kind of get a really good bond between that paper and the surface that you're working with. And then I did just pull my little Cricut scraper out. You can find these at Dollar Tree now. They're really, it's not the Cricut brand, it's a Dollar Tree brand, but I mean, it works just the same. And I just kind of help flatten that out. Now I'm taking this little stencil brush, and I just kind of dipped it in some white paint, and I'm just kind of going to make this look a little more aged than it looked. Completely optional, completely a matter of personal preference. I just feel like sometimes it takes a sheen off of the paper, so it doesn't look super glossy, so it looks kind of more I don't know, less like a calendar page and more like a piece of art, I guess. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, but I just love how this turns out, and I think it is so cute. It was so simple, so inexpensive, and Dollar Tree has some really great pictures. So hopefully you can find some of these calendars or use this idea from maybe an older calendar that you have from last year. It's such a fun project and so perfect for springtime. This little pack of pots came from Dollar Tree, and you get 2 of them. They have these every springtime, so hopefully you can get your hands on some. They also sell them, at Walmart or anywhere where there's a greenhouse. I really feel like you can find some little pots, or if you have something on hand, definitely use that. So I just want to rough up this terracotta. Terracotta is beautiful the way that it is, but I really love kind of making it look aged or rustic. And so I'm just taking some white paint on a chip brush and just gently going around. What I did is I dipped the brush in the paint and dabbed it off onto like a baby wipe or a towel or something, and then just lightly went over all of the edges of those 2 pots there. And now I'm taking some reindeer moss. I love using reindeer moss for springtime because I feel like it really just brings that natural look in. And I'm taking a barbecue skewer here. This helps me for a couple of reasons. If you use hot glue, which I do, it's going to kind of help you from burning your fingers because that glue will seep through there. But I'm tucking it down into the pot. I kind of stacked these pots kind of skiwampus here. You can tell there where the other one is sticking out. You can see how I've done that here. And I want to be able to stick that moss like it's growing out from under there, almost like this was left out in your yard or your potting shed or something like all winter long, and it started to have some moss growing here, and you'll kind of see what we do at the top of it. I don't know, I like to come up with stories for my DIY sometimes to kind of help me come up with inspiration. But you can see I'll glue that, and I'm just taking that down over the edge on that particular piece right there, and you'll see here that I'll tuck the top of it down in, and then that was just a little extra there that I had to pull off there. But so that way it looks like the moss was kind of coming down over the pot. And now I'm just using a little bit of hot glue and some craft paper to stick in this top pot here because I want to fill up that space. You could use some styrofoam, but there really isn't a need to with what I'm doing. So now I'm moving on to step 2 of this DIY, and I'm going to make a cute little bird's nest to go on the top. Kind of like some birds saw this on your little potting table and they decided to come make a little nest and put their eggs there. So I'm just going to kind of manipulate this Spanish moss into a nest here. So I'm just kind of going around and I'm kind of just making it a circular shape, and I'm wanting to kind of make an indentation in the middle where like their eggs would go. Spanish moss can be really messy, so definitely make sure that you are prepared for that. Now, I saw a thing on Pinterest where somebody made a bird's nest and they used some kind of adhesive when they did it. I couldn't really think of anything I had besides Mod Podge. It ends up working okay, but you could definitely do a little research to see what other materials that you could use to do this. But it worked out okay, but you have to use a little bit. I just wanted to stop that Spanish moss from falling everywhere for one, but I also wanted to be able for it to hold its shape to kind of work with. So I'm just using it with a brush. You can see there's really no rhyme or reason to how I'm doing this. And your hands get very sticky. So you could wear gloves would be something. This is a learning process for me, and I was just kind of trying to see how it worked out, but it ends up looking really good, I think. So it just takes a little bit. As that Mod Podge is drying, it's starting to kind of take its shape and its form. And then I just use some hot glue to stick that down here onto that paper in the pot. And then I'm just using something that I can poke it down with and make sure that that little indentation in the center is there, so I can place some cute little eggs there. And then I'm just going to trim off any excess that I have there that I want to kind of make it look kind of uniform, but it's a bird's nest, so there's no uniformity at all to that, but I just trim around the edges there, as you can see, like I'm doing. And then I even put more Mod Podge on it, and this is because it's set, it's where I want it, and hopefully that helps it stay in place. Now, if you don't want to go to all that process, I'm just showing you an option there with a different bird's nest. You can find those at Hobby Lobby, JoAnns, maybe even Dollar Tree. You can find all things like that, so you don't have to go through the process of making a nest if you don't want to. And then I just have a couple of little eggs there that I thought were super cute, and I just decided to stick those down in there. You can glue those in. Mine had some little like toothpicks on there that kind of stuck all the way down into there, and so they're pretty secure. And then I thought it would be really cute to take some reindeer moss and kind of add it to the nest or around the eggs, like a little bit more moss is growing around here. The birds grabbed that to help make their nest, and I just thought it turned out really cute. And you can see I'm just even tucking some of the moss inside of that, the reindeer moss inside of the Spanish moss. We've got several types of moss going on here, but I really thought that kind of brightened up that nest a little bit with that. You guys, I think this turns out so cute. I love my little story behind it, like it was just kind of something natural that happened in your garden. But I just think this is so cute, and I mean, this is the epitome of springtime to me. I just think this turned out darling. What do you guys think of this one? So I have a book that I got at Dollar Tree, and I just ripped a few pages out of that, and I'm just going to fold them in an accordion file to give a little texture. And then I had my pinking shears out for another project I did, and so I'm just using that because I thought that would be fun texture. But obviously rip them, cut them with whatever scissors you have, whatever, to make some little strips of paper. I just thought that the little strips of the book paper would be really cute with this DIY. Now I have this little hanging tin basket that I got. I showed this in my Dollar Tree haul video a little bit ago, and you guys all loved it and were excited to see what I did with it. So here we go. So I crumpled up some pages to put in the bottom to kind of fill in the bottom of that, and I glued those in, and then I put a little bit of glue on the top and then just shoved some of those strips of paper in. I did that a couple of times to make sure the strips of paper were in there. They're not going to fall out all over my home, or if I was to sell this, I wouldn't obviously want that paper falling out. So I have this napkin, and it came from Hobby Lobby. I did a cute little Easter decoupage project in one of my other videos that this was left over from. So I'm just using some water on a paintbrush, and I'll just kind of tear around the edges here to give kind of that natural torn look to that. I just thought that this image was so cute and really looked like French country vintage something. So I really thought this would be darling. So on the front, I just did some Mod Podge. That's what I put on the front of the basket there. And then I'm just lightly pressing this down. It is a napkin, so you want to be very delicate with it because it can tear very easily. And then I just go around all of the edges with some Mod Podge, as well as once I do that, then I go over the entire image. That's going to seal the image. It's going to make sure that it's not going to like rip or tear. It's going to be sealed to that tin permanently. But I just thought this was, I don't know, I loved it. I thought it was so cute. Now I found this image on Pinterest. I'll link the website I got it from. It was a free image I ended up printing out, and if you see it in some more videos, it's because I absolutely love it. So I printed it out in 3 different sizes. So I'm just tearing the edge to give it a really, I just wanted a really worn vintage feel to this. And I have this little aging kit that I got at JoAnns, but you could easily use some like antiquing wax or some brown paint to kind of go over this to age it. I crumpled it up and I kind of just put this all over it to make it look really old. I even went on the back because all the time I have people say, well, what about the back? I got the back, you guys, don't worry about it. Anyway, I also go over this front image with the bee on there because I wanted to age it to match a little bit more. So I stick this little postcard down in here off to the side, and then when I get it fixed where I want, I just run some hot glue there. Just be very careful not to burn yourself with the glue. I kind of did that. And then I have this darling little duck, and it came from Hobby Lobby, and it was $2.99 and then 40% off. But I just thought that he was so cute, and so I'm just putting some little glue on the feet there to hold him down. And then I will also, you'll see me go in and put a little glue on the wing to kind of glue it to the front there. I just thought that little pop of yellow was so springy and Eastery. I thought it was really cute. Once I got that in there, it did need a little bit of something extra, so I cut these little greenery sprigs here, and I'm just going to glue them behind the little duck there, back by the postcard. And then I also take a little bit more greenery here, and then I just stick this over on the side there, and I just thought that looked so cute and so Eastery. Now, if you were going to set this up somewhere or something, you could put that handle down. Obviously, if you're going to hang it, you want that handle up. And so I wanted to age this. Once I got this all done, I looked at the tin. I'm like, the tin looks kind of stark. It needs to look a little older. So I just took some burnt umber on here, and you can kind of see on that handle how it does look just like the handle's rusted. And I go around like all the joints on the basket, on the lip. I even turn it over and go on the back of the little basket, so that way it's aged and looks really old. You guys, isn't this the cutest thing ever? I just think this turns out so sweet and so cute. And it's that perfect little vintage pop of Easter that you'll have in your little Easter decor that's kind of just that treasure when you find it. I just think this turned out so cute. So let me know your thoughts on this one because I absolutely love it. I love coming up with DIYs for these cutting boards from Dollar Tree, and I got this free image that I found on Pinterest. I'll link it below in my description box. I'm just showing you that I did pry up that front portion of this sign with my little putty knife there, and of course you can see it ripped everything off, so I just had to come to the fact that I needed to put some of this sticker transfer paper on here. This is just the removable sticker wallpaper that they have at Dollar Tree, and I really love the herringbone pattern. So I just cut that out to the shape of the cutting board. I cut around the edges. I'm using an X-Acto knife to get around the curves there. And then what I do to get that really crisp edge after I do my X-Acto knife here is I get a fingernail file, and I just file in a downward motion to get the crisp edge. That's just going to take all of that excess off. It's going to make it look like this actually was made to go on the cutting board. And then since the sticker is a kind of paper, you have kind of like a little white trim there, I just take some antiquing wax on a baby wipe and I just go around the edges to kind of help that blend in. Now, I didn't have any type of surface that was the exact size as this printable image, so I just decided to make my own. This is just a back of one of the signs at Dollar Tree. I had used some of the stuff off the front of it before and was hanging onto it. All I did was just score it with my X-Acto knife. A utility knife would probably work a lot better, but this did work, so I just scored it there, and then I'll start my little cut with the scissors, and then I'm able to just kind of bend this, and it just snaps apart there. It does leave a little bit of a torn edge, so you want to use some sandpaper or your fingernail file there to make sure that you get all of that torn edge cleaned up. And then you guys know I absolutely love this purple school glue. I have so much success with projects like this. I absolutely love it. So I cover the sign surface really well, and then I made sure that the edges of the paper were well covered as also, so that way when I press it down, you're not going to have any peeling or anything like that. And I take my brayer here, which I do have this link down in my description box. I love this thing. So I'm just rubbing it all over, making sure you get a very good bond. Now, if the image does hang over a little bit like mine did, I just clean that up again with my fingernail file there. And then I decided on this to kind of age the postcard, the little printable there. So I just take some antiquing wax on a baby wipe, and again just go around the edges of this, and I really like the way it looked. I kind of concentrated on the corners to kind of make it have even more of an aged look. It already prints out like that, but I just thought that I liked the way that it looked, so that's why I did that. That would be optional. Now, I love to do 3D signs. If you guys have watched me, you know that I love to create these for all different seasons, and I thought I would kind of do a different version of one. So rather than sticking styrofoam on the back and sticking my greenery into the styrofoam, I'm gluing it directly to the image here. So I just pulled apart, this is some greenery I got at Hobby Lobby. Any greenery will work, even like the boxwood from Walmart or Dollar Tree, whatever you've got is going to work. I just cut it into some more manageable pieces, and I'm just gluing it onto the back so it peeks out from around the sign. And I decided to kind of have it all go in a similar direction. So it's almost going to look like it's a wreath behind this. So all of the leaves are facing the same circular direction. So normally when I do these, they're kind of sprayed out of the edges, but I thought it would be kind of neat to do this one more in like a circular motion like this. And so on the top and the bottom, I didn't want as much greenery as on the sides, so I kind of pulled apart. You can kind of see how I have smaller sprigs that I'm working with there. And so I just started with a few, and as I got going and when I would turn it over, if I felt like I needed more, then I would add more. But I just really love the fresh look that this has. I think this is going to be so cute in my kitchen or my china hutch, wherever I decide to put it. But you can kind of see here those leaves. You can see I'm doing them that same direction, and the same thing all the way around. Pretty basic here. You could also use a different type of glue if you don't want to use hot glue. I just love using hot glue because it's just so easy, but those little silicone finger things are perfect for projects like this. I just picked these up at Dollar Tree, but that way you can make sure that everything dries that hot glue and it's not going to burn your fingers. So when you see those, definitely pick them up. Now, to make this pop out, to have that 3D effect, I need to put some type of surface. So I'm just using some tumbling tower blocks. I put a layer of 4 down there, and it wasn't quite as high as I wanted it. So I'm just putting some more hot glue to have that second layer of those so it pops out a little bit more, because I don't want to smush the greenery. So I'm just going to put a little bit, well, actually right here I put a lot of hot glue, and I just turn that over, and while it is still manipulatable, I just kind of zhuzh it around there, make sure that it's centered where I want it, everything like that. Now I take and blast my heat gun because that takes care of all those little hot glue spider webby things that you get. And then I'm just taking some thicker, this is twine I think I got this at Walmart. It's a little bit thicker than Dollar Tree. It's not quite a rope, but I really like the thickness of it. And I just looped that through and had it there because that's how the cutting boards come. But look at how beautiful this is. I think this is going to be so fun for Easter. It will be perfect for spring and for Easter. I just think that the bunny is adorable. Again, I'll leave that link to this printable down in my description box so you can go to the original source that I got it from and print it. But I just think this turned out absolutely darling. I would like to thank you so much for taking time to watch this compilation mega video. It really means a lot to me. Did your favorite make the list? Did you see something new that you enjoyed? I would love to know down in the comments, either one of those. I always love reading what you guys enjoy seeing. I hope that you have such an amazing day, and I'll see you next time. Happy crafting! If you like the video that you just saw and you want to keep crafting together, here's another video that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.